Hello friends, glad to meet you in this part of Go tutorials. In the previous section, we have seen the basic file input and output operations, right? So we have seen how to read and write data using the os package, using the io util package. So using both of them, we have seen how to write data into a file and how to read from the file as well. Now we are going to see another way of file handling, which is using the buffered IO. So this is not like a conventional file writing for which we get the data and directly writing it up. So we receive the data, we buffer it through the buffer, we write it into a file. Similarly, we read the data from the file, put it in the buffer. From the buffer, we will print it in the screen. So this is how buffered input and buffered output will be operational in Go programming language. So let us start with a simple code to create a file and let us write using buffered output for the first example. So I am opening the command prompt. Let me make the screen bigger. Going to the conventional Go demo directory, pico bufwritedemo.go. Right? So before going into the buffered writers, first let us do a normal OS file write. So what I will do, before this, package main import OS. See here, the red color string, earlier it was in a very light red, so it was not visible very well. So based on comments from one of the viewers, I just changed the color to a darker red. So I think it will be very much legible for you and you can view it without any strain to your eyes. Please let me know whenever you have a suggestion like this. I will try to incorporate and make the presentation better. Okay, so now I'm going to import only the OS package for now. Function main. Okay. So inside main, what I need to do, as usual, the same file related operations we used to do, right? os.Create. So here I'm going to create a file with a name called newfile. So this is the file I'm going to create, but I need to write some data into that file, right? So before that, I need to assign the file handler here, file, comma, error, colon, equal to if error not equal to nil, raise a panic on error. As simple as this. Now using the file handler, I need to write something. So usually using directly the file handler, we used to write that file.WriteString. That is the conventional way we used to follow. Now what we are going to do is we are going to use buffered input and output here. So for that I need to import a package bufio. bufio. This is a package I need to import in order to use buffered input and output in my code. So already I have a file handler which is called file. I need to create a buffer for this file. So bufio, this is the object, dot new writer. I am creating a new buffered writer for a file. Which file? File. This is the file handler. So it will return a buffer for me. So I am assigning the buffer to this variable. So I got the buffer. Now what I am going to do is I am going to write the data to the buffer. buffer.WriteString. So writing data to buffer, as simple as this. It is a very simple string I have written here. So you must understand what it is. So here what I am doing, create a buffer for the OS file, right? Now write data to buffer as usual. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to close the file. So what I'm going to do now, compile and run this code. Go run bufwritedemo. Done. So if I type ls, a file, new file is created. What is happening if I want to see the content of the file? Nothing is there. Can you notice here? So even though I tried to write some data to the buffer, but the data inside the buffer is not being written to the file. So the data still resides inside the buffer. So the buffer.WriteString statement has some data, the data being written to the buffer, but it is not pushed to the file. In order to push the entire set of buffer data to a file, we need to call the flush explicitly. So buffer.Flush. So this is the use of the flush statement. So what does the flush statement will do? This will move the buffer data to the file, and this will clear the buffer data. So instead of moving, clear, it clears the buffer data and writes to the file. So if you run the code now, if you see cat new file, you can see writing data to buffer. So the buffer data given is being returned to the file. So this is how we need to writing data to the buffer. From the buffer, it will be moved to the file. So buffered reader and buffered writer are very much useful to deal with bigger data. So in our application day-to-day life, we may have very huge set of data we may need to deal with. On such scenario, we can go for buffer based input and output. Now we have written some data to the file using buffer writer. Now what I'm going to do, using the same buffer reader, I'm going to read from the same file, which is new file. So what I need to do, pico bufreaddemo.go, the same code as we did, package main, import the same os package, then buffer IO package, and I am also interested with fmt package now because I need to read from the file and print it to the console. So function main, as simple as this. Now I am going to read from the file. So in order to read from the file, I need to use os.Open. So what is the file name? What is the file name we have used? It is new file, right? This is new file. The file name is new file. So this is what the file I am going to read. So it's the same concept I'm going to give. I'm giving the file alone. So I'm not interested with the error object. So I am making it as a blank identifier. Right. So now I have the file handle for the new file. So instead of reading the data directly from the file, I need to use a buffer here. So I need to create a buffer reader here. So using the file object buffer.io dot, earlier we created a new writer, now we are creating a new reader using the same file handle which we are using earlier. So using the file handle, what we are doing now, we are just creating a reader for our buffer. So assigning this to here, reader. So this is the reader I have created here. Now we need to read the data. So as usual, how we write the data, we used to write the data in a byte array. The same way we can read the data into the byte array and print the data to the screen. So in order to read the data in byte array, we need to specify the amount of data or the amount of bytes we need to read from. So using the same reader object, reader, there is a method to read data which is called as peek. I need to specify the number of bytes should be read from the reader. So from the buffer, we need to read 5 bytes. I just wanted to read 5 bytes from the buffer. So that will be read and assigned to this variable data. So this data will be a byte array which is having an octal data of the data we read from the file. Now what we are going to do, we are just going to print the data which we read from the file. So how to print the data? The same way we used to follow, right? fmt.Println. Instead of printing the data as a binary, as a byte array, I need to convert it into a string of data. As simple as this, right? Then I am going to close the file. File.Close. So this is how I am trying to read the data. Let us see what happens. Multiple value reader, peek in single. Okay. I need to specify 2 parameters for the peek. Similarly, I am not interested with the error. So blank identifier I am adding here. That's what the mistake. So the peek function returns two values. Peek function returns two values. One is the data read by the peek method, that is the given set of byte array, and another one is the error object. Whenever it is being raised, we need to print it. So I am not interested with the error object now, so I am just making it as a blank identifier. For the data, I am using the variable data here. Yeah. So now what I am going to do, I am going to run the code. See here, it is being printed as writing. So what is the actual content inside the file? The content inside the file is writing data to buffer. So only we are reading 5 bytes from the screen. So from the file. So it is being printed as WRITI. So what will happen if I increase the peak size? I am making it as 50. So if I run the code, so writing data to buffer, the whole file content is being read. So the same way how we are handling the reader and writer generally in the file handlers, now we are using the same way for buffers. So we used to write the data to buffer, and from the buffer we flush them to the file. Similarly, we used to read the data from the file and put them in the using the peek method. The peek function helps us to read some set of n bytes from the file, so that a particular n bytes will be returned into the screen or return into the another variable. Whatever we wish, we can do it. But remember, the peek method reads the data into a byte array. So the byte array, we can do anything so that the data can be manipulated as per our requirements. So this is all about reading and writing data using buffered IO package, buff IO package. Now we need to see one more interesting thing while dealing with files. What we need to do is we need to see how to append data to an existing file. Consider already we have one file, right, which has some contents. For example, our file for this example now we are going to consider is new file, which already has some contents. Now I am going to create a file writer code which will append the data to an existing file. So far what we have seen are writing the data to the file, reading the data from the file. Now we are going to append the data to an existing file. So how we can do it? Let us see through this code. So now I am trying to open new file which is called as appenddemo.go. The same way package main I am using. I am going to import os package for now. So function main. I'm not going to use any buffers for now. I'm just going to use the os package. So here, in order to write data to a file, I need to open it, right? So in order to create a new file, usually what we did os.Create. This will create a new file. But now I am not interested to create a new file. I want to open an existing file and append data into it. So what I need to do for this, there is a function called open file inside the os package. Here I need to mention the file name. So in our case, what is the file name? The file name is new file. So I'm opening the code and again typing the name new file. So what this file needs to do, this file needs to be opened in append mode. So I need to open this file in append mode. So this is the mode. Along with this, we are going to perform read and write only operations. So os.O underscore WRONLY. So this is how we need to do this. Then next we need to pass the permissions to this file. So 0600. What is this? So we are passing the permissions to the file. So we are trying to open a file with append and read write mode. So this is the meaning of the statement. We are opening an existing file, new file, with append and read write only. So both the modes are applicable. We can read the data and we can append the data to the file, new file with the handler. Where is the handler? So we need to create a handler, file, comma, error. So if error not equal to nil, panic error. Now what I am going to do, I am going to write the data to the file. So how to write the data to the file? The same way, we already have the file handler dot write string. So what I am trying to do here, trying to append. So I did some data trying to append. So this is what I am trying to write it in the file. So after doing this thing, simply I am going to file.Close. So the main motto of the code is to open the new file in an append mode with read and write flags and append the given text trying to append. So we need to see how the code executes and how the data given in the file, given in the source, given in the program gets appended into the file, new file. Let us see how it gets executed. Go run append demo. Done with the code. It's executed. Now I need to see the file content. New file. See here, writing data to buffer, which is the existing content of the file. Now, through this append demo, we try to write something like this. So it is being appended. So this is how we need to write code to append data to a file. So this statement is very much important. So what does the statement creates? Opens an existing file with append mode and read write permission. So using the object, we can append data into the file. So this is how we perform read, write, append operations inside the file. So this concludes our session with the files. So basically all the fundamental concepts of Go programming language is being covered in the so far in the 20 slides or 20 presentations we have seen right from the beginning. From the next presentation onwards, we are going to see some advanced concepts of Go programming language. So we are going to see concurrency, how concurrent, what are all threading, how threads are being created, how multiple threads will be communicating with each other, how to pass data between one thread to another thread. So instead of thread, we deal with Go routines here. So Go routines, channels, everything we discussed earlier in one of our previous presentations. We are going to see much more detailed into Go routines, channels, and the data transfer between those channels, etc. in the future slide presentations or future YouTube presentations. After this, we can see a lot more technologies to come. We are planning to go for Gin framework and lot more new frameworks in Java. So please stay tuned. A lot of the things will be in queue and we will keep on adding new videos time to time. So if you have any doubts or suggestions, please add them in the comment section given below. Please click the subscribe button. Don't forget to click the bell button. It will